All right, it was media day for the Colorado Avalanche, and if we learned anything, it's that if Gabriel Landeskog is next to your cell phone, he will answer it. And let's talk about a lot that went on media day on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Zach Pearson. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. If you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. The link for that is in the show notes below. Chat with Zach and I one-on-one, get your opinion, everything Avalanche related. We share it on this very podcast. So for today, sir, it's pretty much going to be about that media day that happened for the Avs. And if we have time, we'll talk about where in the timeline of kind of like events leading up to game one, do you get most excited that hockey season is back? Because it's all like, you know, there's all these like things that happen throughout the month of September, and you always see posts like hockey is so back.
Yeah.
But for me, there's just like a specific time where I'm like, okay, I have like the butterflies of like another hockey season here. So we'll try to get to that. I'll stop talking and get to the big stuff. So if we don't have time for it, we'll do it tomorrow. So, but yeah, let's talk about this media day because some good stuff went down. You had Jared Bednar get in front of the media. You had Gabe Landeskog and Nathan McKinnon as a duo. Toews and Makar as a duo, and Martin Necas and Fredrik Olofsson all met for a very amount of time. We'll start with Bednar because he was the longest. He was about a half hour that he was taking questions, and he gave you a lot of stuff. Maybe backing up a little bit before we get to Bednar. I'm getting like the overall arc and feel of the day. Two things I took out of it. Well, maybe three. Everyone is excited that Landeskog is back.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves Brent Burns.
Yep.
And this team seems ready to go. Like this team seems like they feel like they are a legit team and are going to be difficult for other teams this year. And you got that impression from everybody talking. Is like, yeah, we got these guys back. These are the guys we added. We brought most of the guys back. We liked the team we had last year, so let's go after it again.
Yeah, 100%. I got the exact same impression. I think in every single one of the availabilities, they all brought up, like, the word tight was used a lot. The word focused was used a lot. Like, they are very clearly in a good mindset coming into this. I think there's even been a lot of conversation of this is one of the best we've felt since going into the 21-22 season. This is the most focused. Everything feels really positive right now. And I think before we roll into all of Bednar's, but I think even he said this is the deepest we've been since then as well. And so you really get the impression from everybody who spoke to the media that this is a team raring to go.
He did say that. Like, those are his exact words. He feels like this is the deepest team they've had since that Cup team in 2022. So we'll see. But that I don't feel like he would say that just to get likes and clicks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like Jared Bednar's built that way. I feel like if he's saying that, he genuinely believes it. Now you got to go out on the ice and prove it and all that other stuff. But if the head coach is saying that, I'll take him at his word for it right now because he must be feeling good about the dynamic of this team.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. The last 2 years too, he hasn't said anything about the team being super deep or anything like that.
The only time he said it was after they were done with the trade deadline, when they had he did say it then. He did say after they acquired Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson and they made all those deals. He did say we are a very deep team.
And that's what I mean. There was like before this iteration of the Avalanche at the media availability last year, the year before that, leading into the season, there wasn't that comment made that I remember anyway. I could be wrong, but
I don't remember hearing it. So, I mean, it makes sense if he says it at the trade deadline last year and we're all saying how it's pretty much the same team. It makes sense why he would kind of feel that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So he did bring up injuries to Mackenzie Blackwood, Sam Gerard, and Logan O'Connor. Said Logan O'Connor is looking good. Timeline is still what it is. Thinking sometime early to mid-November is where he's thinking with that. Yeah. Sam Gerard. Really, Sam Gerard and Mackenzie Blackwood sounded like they're kind of on the same trajectory in that they probably will miss most of camp and preseason.
Yeah.
It's made it seem like there's an outside chance that Blackwood could play maybe in like the final preseason game. He didn't say that specifically, but that's just the impression I got with hearing him talk. But it sounds like they maybe more Blackwood than Gerard could be ready for game 1. If not, they both might be missing a week or two of October.
See, I kind of got the flip impression. I thought he was saying Sam Gerard is more likely to be ready for game 1. And because he used the term week to week for Blackwood, which
he did, you're right.
I feel typically kind of pushes those guys out a bit. I still think the impression I got anyway was he's thinking miss a week of the regular season for Mackenzie Blackwood, and then he'll be back and ready to go. But he did say that both are rehabbing and both are progressing well, which is a very good sign because like injuries that nobody was aware of and suddenly just pop up, I feel like in the past have had a tendency to be like, well, this isn't really a big deal. Okay, now he's day to day. Okay, now he's week to week, and now he's on LTIR. So the fact that we're not doing that is good.
Very good. Obviously was asked about Landeskog, and he said, he used the term, he's a full go.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not going to be any training wheels with him. They're not going to limit his minutes. They are going to rely on Gabe Landeskog himself. To come to them if he is feeling anything. And they're kind of leaving it up to him. And I think that's a fine thing to do because everything that Landeskog has gone through, and if you watched his documentary, you've seen him push it when he probably shouldn't have, and he's learned from that. So I think they have trust in him to say, hey, I'm planning on putting you in night after night. I think he was specifically asked about back-to-backs. Yep. And he said, that's we're pretty much going to be doing this on the fly. And his thinking is he's ready to go. He's full go. I'm putting him in every game. If there is an issue, I will hear it from Gabe Landeskog's own mouth.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with him. And I think that, we talked about that a lot over the offseason. And would there be some load management with him? It doesn't sound like it's going to come from the coaching staff. It's going to come from Landeskog himself.
Which is kind of what we talked about, I feel like, leading into the season, just kind of through the last couple of weeks is, how much will Landeskog come back? That was kind of the gut feeling I had on that too, was it'll be up to Landeskog. Although I really felt it was more like the coaching staff might come in and be like, hey, do you want to take a day off? And Landeskog would be like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Whereas this gives me a little bit more of the impression of we fully trust him to make the correct decision, which, I mean, I'm not surprised at that at all. Because like you said, he's clearly learned where to push himself and where not to push himself. It definitely seems that way from watching that documentary, from seeing everything that he's done. And I mean, his first games back with the Eagles were a back-to-back. So, he's
that's true.
Ready enough to at least do that. So
that is true.
I feel pretty good. And I think he feels pretty good. I think this is the right decision. Let him pick when he needs to be out. Yep. If not when, if.
It's so it was nice to hear that. He did talk about Sam Malinsky. He's going to be kind of slotted into that third defensive pairing on his offside.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have more right-handed defensemen than left-handed defensemen, there's going to be some mismatching in some aspect. And they said they're just going to give this a try. Like, this is really all they really can do right now with Sam Malinsky is kind of put him on his offside on the left side and see what happens. Not ideal, but it's kind of the hand that they're being forced right now. So I get it, but I also didn't like hearing that because I just feel like Sam Malinsky is going to have a really good season. Does this throw a wrench into anything? we'll have to see. He'll have to adjust. And this is going to be, this season was going to be a test for him anyway, to kind of take the reins of a position on this team, which I fully expected him to do. Putting him on the outside doesn't like eliminate that, but maybe it's and he's probably been prepared for it. They probably told him weeks ago that this is going to be the case. So he's kind of mentally preparing for it. But I was just wanting everything to be nice, neat, and tidy and comfortable for Sam Malinsky, playing the position on the side he's used to playing. Throws a little bit of a wrench into it, but I have confidence in the kid, and I'll see how this goes. But not the most ideal thing you wanted, but what else are you going to do?
No, but if he's going to prove himself, this is a great opportunity for him to really prove himself as well. Like, I know it sucks. It makes it more difficult being on your offside, but I think he's going to take this opportunity and run with it. I don't fully like it, like you said, but yeah. I'm pretty stoked still to see what he can do with it, because I've got a decent level of confidence in him. So let's let him prove that he earned his spot up on the in the NHL.
Absolutely. And his he didn't say it would be his pairing mate, but he did talk a lot about Brent Burns, like a lot of people did. Yeah. And they asked him, like, what do you expect Brent Burns to bring? And his answer was just simply a lot, is what he said. And then he went on to talk about him, and he said he expects a lot on and off the ice from him. And then went on like these stories about how like he was walking in and out of a room, and every time he walked into the room, it was like he was like a teacher, and there was just like students in front of him, and then he'd walk out of the room and walk back in, and there'd be a whole new bunch of 4 or 5 guys in front of him, and he just has that appeal to everybody in a locker room. So the signing of Brent Burns seems like it's already paying dividends, and he hasn't played a second yet. But those are guys that you absolutely love. We're talking about EJ and how, missing him being a locker room guy. I'm not trying to say Brent Burns replaces Eric Johnson in the locker room, but it's a good person to have in there, it seems like.
Yeah, you're not going to replace EJ. Nobody will replace EJ, but Brent Burns definitely seems like another great like culture and locker room guy, like you said. Yeah. And not just Bednar. I mean, we'll get into it as we get through this, but I think everybody had to make a comment about how great Brent Burns is, it feels like. So that's a great sign.
It was almost like they were like contractually obligated to talk about how great Brent Burns is. But let's get a break in here. We have a few more things to touch on with Bednar, and then we'll get into the other guys. And if you're watching on YouTube, it says, thanks, Zach Parise.
Yep.
And why does it say that? We'll get into it because it's interesting. So let's get our first break in, and a lot more to cover on Media Day from the Colorado Avalanche. Let's hear from FanDuel, because the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. And right now, new customers can bet $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to play? Download FanDuel right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today. All right, let's continue with Avs Media Day. And right now we're still going through the Jared Bednar press conference. He talked about the 3C position. Said it was like really like the one hole in the lineup right now. So we pretty much just shifted the 2C problems down to the 3C problems, but they don't really, I mean, is it a problem? I guess so. But again, like with this whole feeling pretty confident in this team, like what they were throwing out to everybody in these press conferences, you feel like they are okay with what they have at 3C, but it is another, like, we got to see how this works. Could be Jack Drury slotted in 3C to start the season there, but there was a number of guys that he threw out there. Ross Colton was another one. You could see an Olofsson, Drury, Colton line as like your third line, which might not be terrible. That could be a line that could hold its own. So, but that was talked about for a little bit. And again, it's another thing where they have the plan right now. and we'll just see if that holds up, because that could be the one thing where we don't know, but got to play the games to see.
Well, and that to me makes me feel like, with Bednar's statements there, that the third and fourth lines will be the key Bednar blender lines,
Yes.
and it's just going to get shooken up repeatedly throughout the season if he can't get something to really stick right away. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I almost got the impression that it's Jack Drury's position to lose right now.
I did too. Yeah.
But we'll see, because Ross Colton definitely has a decent argument for it. It could very well go any way. I do think Drury's probably going to be the guy on opening night in that spot,
because if you're not putting Colton there, I can't see putting Colton down on a fourth line. Like, that's not where he belongs. Like, he's making way too much money to play on a fourth line, so you play him at the wing. And if it's not working out with Drury, you'll put Colton in at the 3C. If you have to drop Drury down to the 4C, that's okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe just swap those guys. I know, like, the wing is not like I'm gonna say Parisi. Drury's like main position, but try to make it work. Like that, like you nailed it with saying, like, that's the blender part.
Yeah.
Seems like 3 and 4 are going to be the blender part, so we have to see it. But I agree with you. It just felt like it's Jack Drury's job to lose right now.
Yep, I think so.
He kind of just touched a lot on just the focus and the motivation of the team after the Dallas loss. He said it kind of reminds him of when they were eliminated by Vegas in the second round, and everything that followed after that, like how the team kind of just refocused itself. Didn't get too down on themselves, know that they had a good opportunity, know that they were in a good opportunity to win that game against Dallas. And obviously it didn't happen, but it's just, he talked a lot about how just focused and motivated they seem coming into this season. Talked about that. And then I was asked about Dave Hackstall and that hiring, and said it was a pretty extensive process, which makes sense because they didn't hire him till a little bit later in the offseason. That wasn't they didn't do a fire and hire like immediately. And talked about, wanting someone that had experience coaching like star players, which didn't really happen in Seattle for Dave Hackstall, but he was in Toronto, and you have star players over there. So asked specifically if he'll be running the power play, gave a yes answer to that. So now we know that. But seems pretty happy with the guys that are going to be on the bench with him. And like I said, just overall, I think Jared Bednar really kind of hammered home how the team just seems hungry for this year.
Well, and I think everybody kind of echoed that, but I really liked his statement of, this reminds me of the offseason after the Vegas loss, because that was the year when, and I'll never forget that press conference when Nathan McKinnon sat there and said, it's been 7 years in this league and I haven't won blank. And that's like, exactly. And so the fact that they have that, I don't think they have that negativity. And I know we'll get to McKinnon, but he even kind of touched on that. Like, I don't want to be negative. we're going to be positive going into this, but they still all mentioned how they were focused like they were in that offseason. And I think if they can build off of it properly, you don't always have to make it a negative emotion to motivate you, right? So this really feels good. I liked everything about media day.
And then, we're kind of transitioned over to Gabe Landeskog and Nathan McKinnon. And, they echoed a lot of what Jared Bednar had to say. When the players said a lot of, they like the fact that they're starting this year, basically with the team that they had, most of the team that they had last year. And they don't, the plan is anyway, not to go through this transition of acquiring guys all throughout the season and needing to figure it out during the season. They can go through the ups and downs of a regular 82 game season on game one. And they feel confident that this team that they have starting on game one will resemble a lot of it on game 82. That's the goal. Like, trade deadline is fun and exciting for us. But, and everybody's going to make trades. The number one team in the league at the trade deadline is going to make trades. But I don't think the players want like this mass exodus of players that they've gone to battle with. So you heard that a lot from Landeskog and Nathan MacKinnon of being happy with the team that they have right now and going into the start of this season very differently than how they went into the start of last season. And we all know how that turned out. In November, they're already making trades. Nobody is getting that impression with this team. So it's almost like they're living and dying with the guys that they have in this locker room right now.
Yep.
You heard that from those two guys. So Landeskog was asked obviously a lot about, the injury and coming back and how he's feeling. You mentioned the Nathan MacKinnon comment from, I've been in the league for how long and haven't won squat.
Yep.
I think the one comment that's coming out of all of this that's getting the most headlines is Landeskog basically saying he didn't work his butt off. He didn't use the word butt for 3 years just to come back and just be part of the team.
Yeah.
He's back to win cups.
He's back to lead. Exactly. That is the captain coming back. And like I put that on Twitter too. I'm like, you're going to hear, I think, if you're listening to the radio broadcast, a lot of "Oh, Captain, my captains" from Connor McGahey. And I hope you do, because it does. He is hungry to get this season rolling. You could tell. And man, I'm so excited to see him playing every night again.
I mean, and the playoffs were fun, but there's something different just about like every night tuning in, knowing that he's just going to be in the lineup.
Yeah.
Something just different.
None of the question marks. It's just, it's so awesome. I am so stoked for that.
Nathan MacKinnon, just a side note here, real interesting, said he has not talked to Dave Haxtell yet. I found that interesting. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Not that they need to, be going out to dinner and, or going to check out like a Marvel movie or like Fantastic Four or something like that. But I thought there'd just be like a phone call or something. Just, hey, man.
Well, and that's really interesting to me too, because Nathan MacKinnon specifically called out that special teams drowned them in the first round.
Right.
And if you're going to call that out specifically and then haven't spoken to your special teams power play coach, I don't know. Guy's on a whole nother planet, right? He's on a different plane of existence than any of us when it comes to that. So, I'm not going to try to overanalyze him, but that is an interesting comment. I can't believe I missed that.
I mean, we've seen, Nathan MacKinnon, he seemed like he had a fun summer. He was taking pictures with Crosby and Brad Marchand and everything. But cell phones exist. It's not that difficult to just call some. And I'm not saying they need to have this conversation of like, hey, let's set out our whole plan for our power play this year. It's just, it's more just like an introductory, like excited to work with you, enjoy your summer type of thing. Just the basic conversation. And then I don't know. I know I'm probably making too much of this, but like you said, because he was asked about the power play. Yeah. And that's why he brought up Haxtell and hasn't talked to him yet. And he even called himself out and saying like, I needed to be better on the power play in against Dallas in that series. I needed to create more. I need to do better. Yep. And he, that doesn't surprise me that he's going to say that. He's going to take accountability for stuff like that. So
yeah, he is.
I just want him to get on the right page at the right time with the new power play coach. So,
and I mean, in all honesty, it's probably a big old nothing burger with that, but it is just it's an interesting piece. That is a very odd kind of comment to have.
I thought it was just, when he said it, like my ears perked up. I'm like, really? Like just nothing? Not even a, hey, what's up? I don't know. Maybe he was busy reading Fourth Wing or something like that, and he could
organizing Fourth Wing night. Yes.
And then
what he was busy doing was recruiting Sidney Crosby. Let's be honest.
That's yes, and I'm fine with that. yes. And then to end the press conference was just maybe the funniest moment where, all the press has their phones out there recording what these guys are saying. And a phone rang while Nathan MacKinnon was talking. And then you just see Gabe Landeskog like touching the phones, trying to find out which phone was buzzing. And he picked it up and answered it. And whoever that person is on the other line got to talk to Gabe Landeskog. That probably was not what they expected to start their day, but
can't imagine it was.
No, he basically was just like, we're kind of doing a press conference right now. Can you call you back?
Well, I loved it too. It wasn't even a canny. It was Eric, we're in a press conference. He's going to call you back.
Right.
And then just like, okay, bye. And
it was almost like a secretary. Like he was playing the part of secretary. It was great.
Oh, it cracks me up. And then to tell him he owes him $5 for the next presser to walk away, I was like, all right, that's pretty great. I like that.
That's hilarious. So, all right, we got Toews and Makar to get to, and Martin Necas, Victor Olofsson, which was really Martin Necas. So, let's get our last break in, and we'll wrap up with those two final press conferences. Let's hear from Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, and whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. But that's where Monarch Money comes into play. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use Locked On NHL as the promo code at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That is 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com. And don't forget to use that code Locked On NHL. All right. So Devon Toews and Cale Makar were a duo for a press conference. I didn't get a ton out of this one, to be totally honest with you. And it was kind of funny because the first question that was asked, Devon Toews, I think it was just about if they did anything different in this offseason. And Devon Toews even answered like, I don't have anything for you. Like, no, I didn't. It wasn't even rude or anything like that. But it was just like, I know you want maybe like this beefy answer, but I just don't have one for you. And I thought that was for the majority of this press conference. This to me was a hockey player press conference of you're not getting anything out of me. We're just going to be as boring as possible. And we just want to get out of here.
Well, in the very first question, both of them look at each other. And the question is phrased, this one's for both of you. And so the question gets asked, what'd you do differently this offseason? They both look over at each other. They both kind of go, you want it? You want it? And then Devon Toews gives that answer, and it just sort of sets the tone for their entire section. Again, I don't think it was anything, like you said, it wasn't anything rude. It wasn't anything like trying to be short. They definitely felt like a couple of guys that were like, maybe 3 steps above, I'm just here, so I won't get money.
But they all the things that we kind of said with Bednar and McKinnon and Landy, like they kind of echoed that, like really happy to be back, like this team. They went on about Brent Burns, how they love Brent Burns. So all of that stuff, they said it as well.
With those guys being as quiet as they were to then go on Brent Burns even a little bit, I'm like, I don't know. It just really makes me feel so good about that guy being on the team. It really, really just adds to it.
I hope he's one of those guys that like plays like 1 year with the Avs, but then just becomes a part of their organization after he retires.
Would be so cool.
Some guys do that. Like, Peyton Manning, played more than 1 year with the Broncos, but like he's almost as synonymous with the Broncos as he is with the Colts. Maybe even more so.
I think
which
more
is
so.
Wild.
Because he didn't even go back to sign a contract there. So I think more so. And I'd love to see Brent Burns do something like that. Just one of those like stick around guys. Like, I found a home here. I love it.
Right. Just short tenure, but just makes his retirement home there. And just has some role with the organization. Would be awesome. But they did throw out Toews threw out I thought was a great bite about doing a lot of legwork to keep Brock Nelson in house. And how he kind of really sold him on, the area, the team, obviously, and they know each other from when Toews was playing with the Islanders. And not only did Toews keep Brock Nelson in house, they also brought in Zach Parise. And there's a guy who didn't play very long, 30 games, I think he played for the Avalanche, and he also sold the Colorado Avalanche to Brock Nelson, which is hilarious when you think about it.
Absolutely
because
hilarious.
Where did Zach Parise play most of his career? In Minnesota for the Minnesota Wild. Where is Brock Nelson from? Minnesota. Everybody thought Brock Nelson's going to hit the market and he's going to go back home and play for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
We all know that didn't happen. But this little tidbit of Parise being the one to help keep him in Colorado when the team where he played most of his career for, he could have went back to.
Yep.
Thank you, Zach Parise. I didn't see this one coming, but thank you.
So yeah, there's two pieces on that for me. Is the first one is certainly a thank you to Zach Parise, but the second one is is this a little telling about the Kirill Kaprizov situation too? Just a little small tell.
Hey now, see, I didn't put those two together.
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Oh, that is a juicy steak right there. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We'll have to see where that goes. I did hear though that the Kaprizov contract is being hung up. He's fine with the term. He's fine with the dollar amount. He wants full no trade clause.
Interesting.
Which it was not included. I think for the duration of it. I'm sure there were kind of like maybe for the first 4 years it's a full trade. For the last 4 maybe a modified, or they do the stuff like that. Just from something I heard that he wants it for the full 8 years. And if Minnesota says okay to that, the deal is signed. So it's got nothing to do with the term. It has nothing to do with the dollar. Right.
That does make it more interesting, especially if it is I want to literally stay here and only here. Okay, Minnesota, you get a couple of points back in your organization.
Yeah. But we're going to play the conspiracy theory game and say that,
I like that. That's a lot more fun of a game.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then Martin Necas obviously was with Victor Olofsson, but Necas did most of the talking for this one. And obviously the big thing that everyone wants to know with him is the contract. And he kind of just pawned it off to his agent and just said, they're talking, but my agent knows all those details. So, which is fine. That's, the answer you expect them to give. But I always like hearing we're talking and the added and we're close part.
Yeah.
You didn't get that. You got the we're talking and my agent's handling all of it. So we still don't know.
He also prefaced it though with my game fits really well here in Colorado. Like
that was the other part.
This is a great fit for him. And he was, I was really sad and surprised to get traded, but then I came here and realized how well I fit. I don't know. It did give me that, I would love to hear we're close. It's about to be here. But I still got the impression that he's probably on board with staying here. They just need to hammer out the details. And that is something that his agent's there for. So that answer made sense.
Yeah, I don't know if he throws out that line if he's thinking I'm not going to stay around here.
Agreed.
I don't think he says why would you say the way they play fits my game and then walk out the door.
Agreed. So that to me
for money
made me feel better. Yeah, unless somebody's going to offer him 14, in which case it's really hard to tell him no.
I get that.
But yeah, I don't think that happens. I think that comment is very telling. I think he's probably closer than he let on, at least, and that could just be hopefulness talking too. Right. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
But
so overall, good day. I'm not big on throughout the season press conferences and stuff like that because it's pretty much the same thing over and over and over again. This one's a little bit different. I do kind of look forward to this one because it's the start of the season. Everybody's usually in a good mood. And when you have a team that you like and you're ready to go to war with them, you get kind of real genuine reactions from these guys. And you got that a little bit. They're hockey players, so they're still going to be that monotone for a little bit. But you do get the impression, like we said in the beginning, that they're excited for this season. They're excited to put last year behind them and go after another one. So
100%.
Let's get ready. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. So thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do the when you get excited moments in the timeline of September. We'll do that. And The Athletic came out with a player poll, which was very interesting as well.
Sure,
so we'll probably talk about that tomorrow's episode. So make sure to tune into that one. But like I said, for this one, thank you for making it your first listen. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Zach Pearson. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow, where you made it through another 24 hours. 24 hours where you're that much closer, where Sidney Crosby is going to be taking part in next year's Colorado Avalanche Media Day.
Yes, indeed.